I was already struggling working 9 to 5 and trying to be there for my wife and we just had our second kid. And it's like, there's all this family stuff going on. And I'm at work for 40 hours a week. And now he's saying I got to do 60. I just got screwed over, Matt. Like, this is horrible. Now I work about 20 hours a week, and it's so fun. It's so fulfilling because I get to help people do this.
David, thank you for joining me for our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host over here, Matt Camp with DealMachine. And on these, we really like to shine an industry spotlight on experts like yourself, hear your inspiring stories, and see how you see the world evolving. So really excited to welcome on David Ounanian today. You're somebody who in St. Louis, many people know you as David O. I love your events. Went to one recently for CASHFLOW Nation. I know you're one of the co-founders of that. You have an amazing story of being kind of burnt out as a software engineer in corporate America, and then using the power of real estate, being an investor and agent to really build your own financial freedom. So, and on top of all that, I know you're definitely a family man as well. So, David, excited to have you on, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Matt. I'm really excited to be here.
Fantastic. Yeah. Can you tell me more? I know I mentioned your personal story. Can you maybe walk our audience through that journey of how you went from corporate America into real estate?
Yeah, I mean, just briefly, I was raised like so many of us in like a middle class home, and we're told to go to college and get a job working for somebody else, and so that's what I did. And I got a 4-year degree. I went on to get an MBA and started climbing the corporate ladder at a big company here in St. Louis that's probably a Fortune 10 in the country as a software engineer. And was about 10 years into that journey, and I just got completely burned out. You know, all of the conference calls, all the emails, all the chat messages pinging every single day, every hour of every day. And it's like, you know, I'm working this miserable job for 5 days just to get to Saturday and Sunday and doing it all over again. And I remember going to some of the retirement parties at my company. There was people that had like 35, 40 years of service at the company, and they just looked miserable. I could see it on their faces that they were just totally unfulfilled. They lived this entire existence revolving around their corporate job, and it was just sucking the life out of them. And they actually had nothing, you know, they were at the end of their age, so they really didn't have much left to go on and do what they wanted to enjoy in life and stuff like that. And I remember at that point I was like, I can't do this another 30 years. And I started looking for answers and solutions. And thankfully there was content out there like this, Matt, that I found online that said, hey, you need to invest in real estate. Real estate is the way that you can get free of all this, that you can free up your time and experience passive income and all of those things that I started doing. Wasn't easy, but it was totally worth it because I was able to get free from the 9 to 5.
I love it, man. And then, you know, tell us more about that transition and going doing that first deal. Cause I know a lot of our audience watching this, they might be in that job right now, thinking about that of like how to make that jump. So I know it doesn't necessarily go exactly according to plan. Can you tell us like what you learned through that experience and how you went through that?
Dude, I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because that is the absolute hardest thing to do is buy your first real estate investment deal. I don't care who you are, like that, the level of like just fear that everybody has going into that first deal. I was no different. I was consuming content like crazy. I was listening to podcasts at work, listening to podcasts on the way home, reading books when I got home. I was downloading so much information about real estate investing. This went on for a year, and I was just telling my wife about all these great ideas I had. Hey, we're going to buy rental properties. We're going to do the Burr method. You know, we're going to be able to reuse our capital over and over again. And at first she was nervous about it too, but over time it was like, hey, can you just stop talking about it and go out and do one of these things so we can see if it works? And that finally got me into action. And I bought my first deal from a wholesaler and found a property on Craigslist, and they told me, you know, it only needed $20,000 to make it rent ready. I was an agent at the time. I had gotten my license on the side just to help friends and family. I was doing about 4 houses a year. It was just a little side gig. Never thought I'd be a full-time agent or anything like that in the future. So I didn't have anybody helping me. I knew how to fill out contracts and get inspections and all that stuff. And so I'm in the house looking at the property. I said, "Hey, I want to pad this rehab budget a little bit. I'm going to say, let's budget 25,000. Let's put a little bit of padding on there in case something comes up." Well, after I got into this property, there was just problem after problem after problem, and it was so scary, Matt, because all of a sudden I need the roof repaired. All of a sudden I need, the utilities weren't on when I bought it. So my inspections were pretty limited and I didn't realize that. And so none of the plumbing worked. I needed a whole new sewer lateral under the house. We pulled back some paneling in the basement. We saw water coming in. There was huge foundation problems. And it literally brought me to my knees. I remember being in the basement of this house, and the first foundation contractor that came out said that we're going to have to jack up your house. We're going to have to take out this foundation wall and put in a whole new foundation wall. You're looking at about $30,000 to pull this off, Dave. And I'm like, I have 25,000 for the whole project budgeted here. And this was at a point where me and my wife, we used all of our own personal savings to buy this property. We had nothing left in our savings account. We had zero, and just trying to figure out how we're going to pay for the next thing that went wrong on this deal. I'll tell you, it was some of the most stressful times of my life. And, it took 6 months to get out of this thing. Eventually what happened was I met our mutual friend, Kevin, and he pitched me on the idea that I need some coaching. I need some direction. I need to be a part of a group who knows how to do deals and knows how to work things. And, when he told me at breakfast that morning that it was a $6,000 coaching program, I almost threw up my breakfast. I was like, how the heck am I going to pull that off? I don't have any money left. Right. And so I ended up going out and buying one of these promotional new credit card offers where you don't have any payments for 6 months and it's 0% interest. And, I said, I've got no other options. And I got some help, and I started taking advice. I started walking some of my mentors and my coaches through the property and figured out ways to get this off my hands. We got it sold after 6 months. We still lost money, but I got a lot of my capital back. And that gave me some confidence to go and try it again and be successful at it. And I remember 2 months into the mastermind that I was a part of, I did a wholesale deal on the side that made $8,000 real quick. So I immediately paid off that credit card. And then my returns were just compounding on that. Knock on wood, I bought probably 40 or 50 properties since then, and I haven't lost money on a single deal since. So it's like looking back at all the lessons and all the hard stuff that I figured out on that first deal. It wasn't easy. It was really hard, but it was always worth it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? So reflecting on that, I'm sure you learned, a ton from that entire experience, but are there a couple nuggets there, a few things that in hindsight, really were the most valuable lessons you learned, things that you would change for that newbie trying to do their first deal? Like, I'd love for our audience to kind of, learn through you there that way.
Yeah. One of the biggest factors I think of people having success in this industry is their level of commitment. Like you have to be fully committed to this thing. This isn't something where you can like dip your toe in the water, like cryptocurrency, and just buy something and let it sit and let it see if it works or not. This is not the business for you. If that's what you think real estate's going to be, you've got to fully commit to doing this. And I remember I was 3 months into this deal, money just bleeding out of my accounts. And I made a decision that I'm going to keep going, that I'm not giving up, because one of the things Tony Robbins says is that you need to leverage fear, right? You're afraid of losing money on this deal, but you know what's more more fearful for me is spending the next 30 years at my corporate job and ending up miserable at that retirement party with all the other people that have 40 years of service and completely wasting their lives, right? I was way more afraid of that than losing money on this deal that I was in. And so I made a decision at that point. I was like, hey, if I lose everything because I'm investing in real estate, I'm going to be the homeless guy on the side of the road that has a cardboard sign that says, "We buy houses." That's what my sign was going to say. And I made that decision that's how far I'm willing to go to be successful in this. And it was through that level of commitment that you just keep finding a way to get better and get better and get better. And eventually you become successful, and you can't be denied success because you've been leveling up the whole time.
Wow, I love that mindset, man. Yeah, I mean that's something that as well. Like I know we have plenty of people on here who are probably kind of using it as a side hustle, like trying to get into real estate for that first time. But you are right, like fully committing in that way and fully committing to your education and everything you're doing inside and outside of those deals. Is obviously going to put you another track for success, right? So,
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And then I know out of that, and I've been to a couple of these events, but you've got Cashflow Nation that, I don't know how many, what year was it that you did your first deal? I'm just curious, like the timeline on this.
Yeah. So I did my first deal 7 years ago. And that
Yeah.
was the one that took 6 months and a lot of stress and heartache and all that stuff. But then within 24 months of doing that, I had 10 properties. And that's really
Wow.
my first experience of like, hey, a light bulb went off and I've got a significant amount of passive income coming in. At that point, 10 rental properties for me was cash flowing a little over $3,000 a month. And I always tell people this, like when you buy your first rental property, even if it's a great one, your life is not going to change. Like one property doesn't do anything for you. It pays for your Netflix and your Amazon subscription, right? But when you get your 10th rental property, like you can start paying for your mortgage. You can start putting food on the table for your family. And that's what gave me the confidence to say, hey, I don't need this corporate job anymore. Like if worse comes to worse and I don't do any deals in real estate, I've at least got these rental properties paying for the roof over my head and putting groceries on the table.
Mm-hmm. Love that. And now, I mean, 7 years later, I know Cashflow Nation, that's such a great, really kind of, group, events. I know you have the university. Like, tell us what your vision is there. I know you mentioned like your whole goal is to really shift people's mindset from wealth creation being on Wall Street to Main Street. So can you tell us more about Cashflow Nation and what inspired you to start that and what that's all about?
Yeah, great that you asked that, Matt. Like it all stems from the experience that I had, right? So I was in the corporate world and I was told to open up a 401k and use my company match and invest in the company's mutual funds and invest in the stock market, invest in bonds, invest in all of these assets that are on Wall Street that me and you, Matt, we have zero control over them. We have no idea if they're going to go up or down. And yes, historically, if you're investing in these consistently over the next 30, 40 years, you should be able to retire, right? Unless something like 2008 comes along right when you're getting ready to retire, and now you can't. And I saw so many people do that in their corporate, when I was employed in the corporate world, they were just getting ready to retire and the markets just started tanking on Wall Street and that like literally reset everything for them. And so that's the state of our country financially right now, is that we're in one of the worst financial states than we've ever been in. I think Dave Ramsey just quoted like 49% of Americans can't write a check out of their checking account for $1,000. Like that's how sad this is. Credit card debt is going out of control. Student loan debt is going out of control. Like there's all of these things, and people aren't investing in assets that they can actually control and give them their time back. And so I was so passionate about that when I started getting it. And because I had my real estate license, other people around me started saying, "Hey, Dave, can you help me buy an investment property? Can you show me how to do what you're doing?" And I said, "Sure, I can get paid a commission helping you build wealth for you and your family." And that just started taking off, right? And I went from using my license to sell 4 properties to my friends and family when they were moving to, in the last year, we sold 113 investment properties to investors, and we're helping other people build wealth and build rentals and do flips and all that stuff. And that's where this is so exciting. What we've done with Cashflow Nation is that we're a group of agents that we call ourselves real estate investment advisors, because we're kind of like a realtor, but also a financial advisor. So we're going to advise you on what makes a good deal and help you analyze the deal and help you connect with the contractors and the property managers and the lenders to be able to pull that thing off so that you can start stacking rental properties and building wealth and passive income for you and your family.
Love that. I know that's something we hear on our end too. Is a lot of a lot of investors using DealMachine saying, "Hey, how do I work with agents? How do I find an investor friendly agent?" Like, can you talk more about that on how investors can best work with agents like this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge fallacy out there that, I got to find an investor friendly agent, and the agents have picked up on that. They're saying, "Oh yeah, I'm investor friendly. I'm investor friendly." They're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're just willing to work with you to sell a property, just like they do to a homeowner or somebody selling a house. What makes up an investor friendly agent is somebody that actually is doing it themselves, that knows how to run the numbers, that knows how to connect you to the people and the deals that you're looking for. And so there's a lot of things that go into it. And so that's what we do at Cashflow Nation, is we're training agents how to be that real estate investment advisor. And so for people that don't know if their agent is truly investor friendly, the easiest way to say is, hey, do you have any investment properties? Do you own investment properties? Because 90% of the time they don't. There's only 10% of agents out there that are actually investing in real estate. And so those are the ones that you need to connect with. Those are the ones that can help you invest as well, because they have the real experience to be able to share with you.
Yeah. I mean, on the agent side, with your perspective there, like if there are, if you're an agent watching this, can you talk about, it sounds like one, you recommend they get into real estate. Like, can you talk through what that looks like? And then two, do you have any playbook there on how they can best work with investors and implement what you're talking about here?
Yeah, the easiest way to do it is just get plugged in with our stuff. So we don't charge anything to become part of Cashflow Nation. You just got to join our brokerage. We're with eXp Realty, and we give you the playbook. We give you all the tools, all the resources to be able to work with investors and sell multiple investment properties to them, and how to find them, and how to create that cohesiveness between the people that have the deals in your location and then the investors that are looking to buy those deals. And you being in the middle can benefit by making commissions on all those transactions.
Perfect. Fantastic. Yeah, I'll make sure we link to that as well, David. This has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on. My one last thing I wanted to ask around too, because I loved your story of how your wife was encouraging for you and how you, it really, in general, were excited to get into real estate as well because your family. How has your family life changed through all of this? Like, I'm curious on how real estate has affected your life in that way.
Yeah, sometimes I forget about how big of a change that this has had for me personally and for my family. It's just crazy because I go back, 7 years when I was working my corporate job. I had just got my last promotion that I got there. I got 5 promotions over the course of 10 years. And I remember it was the next week that my boss called me into his office. And I walk in there. I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he goes, "Hey, Dave, I noticed you're only working 40 hours a week." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm getting salaried. So like, I don't get paid for working more than that." And he goes, that latest promotion that we gave you, that's a management position. And I expect my managers to work at least 60 hours a week. And I remember just walking back to my desk and I was just crushed by this. Like, I was already struggling working 9 to 5 and trying to be there for my wife and we just had our second kid. And it's like, there's all this family stuff going on. And I'm at work for 40 hours a week. And now he's saying I got to do 60. And mind you, I got a 5% raise to take this job. Like, and I tried to argue with HR. I was like, "Hey, I need more than 5%. 5% is nothing, right? It's barely covering the inflation that we're having right now." And so I just doing the
Mhm.
math here. I'm like, wait, 20 more hours a week, 5%. Like I just got screwed over, Matt. Like this is horrible. So that was like
Mhm.
one of the big things. Like that's where I was at before. Now I work about 20 hours a week, and it's so fun. It's so fulfilling because I get to help people do this. I get to share stories with people that are going to help people invest and build wealth and get free. And we just came back from spending 8 days at the Lake of the Ozarks. We've got a couple of houses down there. One of them's an Airbnb, and so I get to work
Mhm.
remotely. I get to do spend so much time with my family that I almost take it for granted now because it's just part of our normal life. We're
Mhm.
going next week. We're going on another vacation. We're going to be 10 days in Yellowstone, driving around, seeing all the sights
Nice.
there. And I don't have to worry about emails and conference calls and people hounding me on deadlines anymore. I've got a team in place that help run the business when I'm not there, and it's just a beautiful thing. And none of that would have been possible if it hadn't been for the vehicle of real estate. And that brings me to probably the last point I want to wrap up here is real estate is 100% the number one investment vehicle in the world by far. There's just so many great aspects to investing in real estate that we can't even get into it here on this call. But the whole mission of Cashflow Nation and what we're doing and why I'm so excited and jacked up about it is because our vision is to shift the belief system of wealth creation from Wall Street to Main Street, to get people access to investing in real estate, so they can experience that freedom and really fulfill their purpose and spend time with their family and do the things that they want to do in life. And when we're working jobs and we're working for somebody else's vision, that's not possible, and that's not the normal thing to do. I mean, it's been the status quo here in our country and our society for a long time, and we're trying to disrupt that and give people options to get free of all that.
I love it. I mean, this was so good, man. I know I'm fired up too, and I'm excited to come to more of the Cashflow Nation local events. Again, thank you so much for your time today, David O. How can people connect with you as well?
Yeah, you can find me on all the socials at Agent David O. Would love to hear from you and see you on there.
Perfect. Well, we'll include that link below with some other free resources here too. But David, really enjoyed the conversation, man. Thanks again for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Matt. Loved it.
Yeah, to everyone watching, this is Matt Camp over here with Deal Machine, and happy deal finding.